Jillian Rothschild-Scholar is back on the podcast. She's a classically trained Feng Shui expert, and we'll be talking about what you can expect for the year of the tiger and the coming Chinese New Year. You'll really want to listen to this one. Please enjoy. Hi, Jillian. Thank you so much for being with us again today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to see you.
It's been some time since you were last on the podcast, and you explained to us what real feng shui is. And I highly recommend that everybody go listen to your first episode if you want a more in-depth introduction into feng shui. And for any new listeners, can you give maybe a quick explanation of what feng shui really is compared to what we tend to think it is here in the West?
Yeah, absolutely. When people ask me what feng shui is, it's a big topic and our time is a little bit limited. So just to give you a little bit of a basic understanding, to me, feng shui is a support system for our lives. When our lives have support through our environment, then it's just easier for us to achieve the things that we want in life, like well-being and love and abundance and happiness and prosperity. Feng shui, translated from Chinese, literally means wind and water. It's an ancient Chinese study of the natural environment that allows us to create harmony and balance so that our lives are supported. So we're really talking about this like globally respected art and science. It helps us know where to find the most vibrant, supportive energy spots in our home. And then when you align with them, it really opens up powerful energy channels. It nourishes you and strengthens your own energy so that you can be more effective in the things that you want to achieve.
This year is the year of the tiger. So, what are some basics that we can expect in the year of the tiger?
This is also a long topic. It's a good thing that we have a good amount of time, and it comes with different perspectives. One thing that's important to know is that the year of the tiger is designated as a specific time based on a particular calendar, and there's like 40 calendars that are used throughout the world. The calendar that I use is called the Shah calendar, which is like a farmer's calendar. It's a solar calendar. It's fascinatingly accurate. It records the passage of time and is a tool used for forecasting. And the solar calendar is very good for forecasting because it only vacillates by a few hours each year. Whereas there is a lunar calendar, and that is a more popular, commonly celebrated date for Chinese New Year. And it does change pretty significantly every year because it's a lunar calendar. So it could be January, it could be later in February. But the solar calendar is very specific. And so in Feng Shui, and the kind of work that I do in classical Feng Shui, we use the solar calendar. The Chinese New Year on the solar calendar is February 4th, 22 at 4:52 a.m. And it's represented by the element of yang, water, with the animal sign of the tiger, which is a yang wood element. Now, when we start talking about the elements, we do have to go back for 1 second to do some of the fundamentals of feng shui, which are to understand that there is qi, that there's energy, there is a concept of polarity, we have yin and yang, and we have what are known as the 5 elements. The 5 elements are water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. And so when people start talking about the energy of the year, you need to have a reference point. So the reference point is always your own personal Chinese astrology chart. So when we talk about, what's the year of the tiger going to bring, we can talk about it in generalizations, which we will. And it's also really important that you take into account your own energy and how it's going to impact you. So the symbolization of yang water is like the energy of the ocean. That's really what the imagery is. It's the sea, it's the ocean, it's massive waves, powerful energy. The tiger animal sign is going to be with the water, and it fiercely matches the strength of the ocean. So we're talking about the strength of yang wood, which is often symbolized by like an oak tree. Sturdy, deeply rooted, very difficult to move, very, very powerful. And they enjoy a harmonious relationship because in the 5 element system, water produces wood element. And so that's great because it's nice to see a harmonious relationship between the elements right off the bat in the year. There are other components to it as well too. So like water element and all of 5 elements carry a number, an attribute of characteristic of energy, related feeling, and like an emotion. So for example, the water element relates to the emotion of fear, and the wood element relates to the emotion of anger. And we have heard, you probably heard that like the tiger is, fiercely protective, like the mama tiger is fiercely protective. So you can start to imagine somebody who is fiercely protective and very unmovable, standing firm in their principles because of something they're afraid of. And that may be something that we see coming forward this year, like on a social perspective and globally as well. That's just one bit of it. Another thing to keep in mind is that something that I'm really excited about for this year is that the yang water tiger is read from top to bottom. It's called a pillar because the solar calendar represents time presented in 4 sections: the year, the month, the day, and the hour. And we call them each pillars. So the year pillar is the yang water tiger. And it's actually what's known as a spiritual pillar. There's only 10 of them. And what's great is that my forecast is that spirituality is going to be a big deal in 22, that we're kind of walking around feeling like this is an endless night. When is this all going to end? This all feels so strange. Nothing is as it seems. And there's just so much uncertainty that's being carried over from the last couple of years. And when people are feeling that way, they usually turn to spirituality. And that's what's happening this year. We're going to start to see people who are interested in a global perspective, caring about people's emotions, perhaps interested in spiritual enlightenment, spiritual practice, wanting to learn something new and really examine some of the grief that has been going on in the last couple of years. So many people have died all over the world. And it's almost unfathomable to the heart to think about how many people have lost loved ones and colleagues and friends. And that grief really has not been, in my opinion, hasn't really been dealt with properly. And now that the sadness is coming, the sadness is sort of going away, the fear is coming up, and we'll really be able to address the grief process in a completely different way. And sometimes that means people going to spiritual practice. Could be that people are going to go more vegan or vegetarian, and the poor meat industry is probably not going to do very well this year, because when people do spiritual practice, often they'll do like a detox or a cleanse. They may not be eating meat. And my hope is that what this will lead to is that we're going to care about each other's emotions and our mental health and our emotional health and find a greater connection in the world. That's just a couple of the beginning points of the year.
Yeah, what was last year? It was a year of the
Yeah, so
forgot.
the last 2 years, last 2020 was the year of the yang metal rat. And this year, 2021, well, we are out of 21 now. 2021 was the year of the yin metal ox. And so what's interesting about the yang water tiger is that there's no metal element. So the last couple of years, if they've been really hard for somebody, you're going to get some relief because there's no more metal element. Metal element may not have been favorable for you. There are definitely people who did well with so much metal element, but if it's not favorable for you, then you're going to get some relief, which is great. And then we can take a look and see like what the water element is going to be for you and how that's going to affect your life, because it's a lot of water element. It's not like a rain cloud that'll come pass through. It's like a deluge of water. It's a deep, powerful, it's a yang element. So when we talk about yin and yang, it's very, very powerful. So one of the things that is attributed to metal element is like military and justice and fairness. And that is lacking this year, which on some level is good because we hope that there's less destruction. Metal element usually indicates destruction, fighting, which we've definitely seen over the last couple of years. And my hope is that will start to dissipate and we won't see so much destruction and so much fighting. Without fairness, though, that can be really challenging. The issues of money and power are certainly going to come to the forefront because the elements are so strong, and people who are living in parts of the world where it's unstable, there may be uprisings or revolutions or social unrest or upheaval because of such disparity. So that's something that certainly could happen. From a perspective of health, just to talk about COVID for a second, there are 2 parts to COVID that I'm using as a reference point. One is metal element because we know that it attacks the body and particularly attacks the lungs. And we feel like we've got a cold and so our sinuses are all messed up. That's all metal element in the body. And the delivery of the vaccine was a jab, right? It was a needle, right? Which is yin metal. So it was very, very popular for that to be the delivery of the vaccine last year in 21. My prediction and my forecast is that it'll be a different delivery because there's no metal element. So the vaccine delivery using a needle is going to start to shift. And so we may see something like a pill or a nasal, like a spray or something like that, something that's water-based, something that needs water. Could be that you taking a pill and you have to drink water with it, something like that.
Yeah, they did say that they were working on pills, so
Ah,
makes
okay.
sense.
Well, there you go. It's already happening. And during this conversation, we haven't even hit February yet. We're during this conversation that we're having right now, we're still in the year of the ox because it doesn't shift until February 4th. And if they're already starting to talk about it, then I didn't even know that. I don't watch a lot of news, so I'll take that.
Oh, I don't watch any news. I hear things from people who watch a lot of news.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Health issues that might be maybe more prevalent in the year of the tiger, what might they be?
Well, with extra water element, so the 5 elements relate to the body in Chinese medicine. And so from a Chinese medicine perspective, the 5 elements tell us what kind of health issues we could potentially expect based on the excess of an element or the absence of an element. Um, the tiger, the animal sign of the tiger in the Chinese zodiac is the element of yang wood, which we already said is related to the emotion of anger. But in the body, it's related to the liver, the gallbladder. So we might see things like hepatitis, cirrhosis, fatty liver disease. And with this extra wood element and the emotion of anger, we might see some anger management issues come up. Water element is also, it's a yang water year, so water is dominant. Water in the body shows up in the urinary system, kidneys, sexual organs, can trigger things like rheumatism, eczema, bladder issues like incontinence, kidney issues like stones or kidney failure or renal disease, and the emotion of sadness. So it's almost, we've gone through all this grief with people passing away and so much death in the world, and people are really starting to address their sadness. And when that happens, then it taps into spirituality. Water element controls fire element. So fire element may have some challenges because it's really not it's not real fire element. It's very unstable. So there could be issues with heart or blood or inflammation in the body, eyes. Fire element is related to all those things because water puts out fire, right? So when you take water, you put it on a fire and it goes out. And so that is essentially a lack of an element. There is in the chart, if you look deeper into the chart, there's a little bit of earth element and there's a little bit of, and we know that there's no metal element. So metal element is nose, teeth, skin, and the emotion of grief. I'm not so concerned about earth element, although I will say this. Earth element in the body shows up as issues with digestion, stomach, pancreas, diabetes, and cellular disease like cancer. So the earth element is about the cells in our bodies. And so when cancer shows up, it's like it's what we call hidden danger. And we are coming out of an earth element year where there's been a lot of earth element. And so the water will literally like wash away the earth, and kind of like the muddy aspects of it will start to wash away. And so if someone is diagnosed with cancer, it could be that it's just becoming visible or it's just becoming known in this year because there's water element. And it could be that it actually was developing or building in the body the previous year. So I am generally I always recommend this, but if you're not feeling well, like this is not the year, this is not the year to sweep it under the rug. You want to make sure to get that checked out right away.
How are businesses and industries particularly impacted by the year of the tiger?
Well, okay, so this is a fun concept, and this is really helpful for you to know in your own personal Chinese astrology chart. Industry is represented by money, right? So people who are in an industry, you want to make money. This is your business. And the way to do this really well is to know in your own Chinese astrology chart what is your day master and then what element your day master controls. So the reason is because what you control is your money. And the cycle for that is that water controls fire, controls metal, metal controls wood, wood controls earth, and earth controls water. And so just knowing that little bit, you can get an idea of what industries are going to do well because earth element controls water element. So earth industries are going to do well. Earth industries are things like land development, real estate, mining, those types of things that are literally related to the earth because earth element is seeing its money in the year because we have a water year. So that's why in theory it would do well. Wood element is also essentially going to be doing well because other parts of the chart there is earth element, wood controls earth element. So it means wood element industries can make money. So fashion, environment, climate change, books, publishing, education. There's no metal element in the year. So that's a challenge because it has nothing to control. There's no metal. Metal industries are banking, accountancy, military, law enforcement. And there was a lot of money to be made in banking in 20 and 21. So the market is going to start to shift. And my prediction is that there may be a cryptocurrency crisis. So if somebody is in cryptocurrency, they want to evaluate what they're in it for. If they're in it for short term, if they're in it for long term, they'll want to evaluate that. Fire industry has not done well because there has not been fire element for the last couple of years. And it's just starting to, we get the tiniest little seed of fire element this year, which is related to things like tourism, arts and entertainment, restaurants. And I think that there's going to be a peak in the summertime for those kinds of things. People are going to want to travel. They're going to go out. They're going to start to explore entertainment more, especially over the summer. But I think that there's going to be a setback in the fall when we get metal element again in the season. So I think that fire element industries are going to be up and down this year. That's my prediction. So
No, I'm sorry. I had a question because I'm trying to figure out what element would be healthcare and what element would be entertainment, because those are ones that I'm not sure.
Yeah, healthcare is usually represented by metal element. So there was metal element in 2020 and 2021. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, the healthcare industries got slammed, but they did really well financially. They definitely made money. Entertainment is usually fire element. So like the last couple of years, or people, they have not been making movies, as actors, couldn't get on stage. There was very little work out there. So that will start to be a little bit more consistent, although I don't think it's going to be as strong as it will be in the next couple of years. It'll still have ups and downs. That's my opinion.
Cool.
Yeah. So the thing to do is, if you don't know your own day master, on my website, fengshuiinmotion.com, which is fsinmotion.com, there is something called a Bazi calculator. It's B-A-Z-I. It's really pronounced Batza, but it's a Bazi calculator. And you can go in and for free, you can type in your birthday information and your gender as it was assigned at time of birth. And it will generate for you all kinds of really cool information. It'll generate for you a Chinese astrology chart. It'll also generate for you something called your life gua or your life star number. And it will also give you your lucky directions. And so knowing that information can be really helpful, because when you know your own day master, you can go, okay, I have earth element in my chart in my day master. That's cool. That means I'm seeing my money because we have water element in the year. So it could be that you may do well financially this year. If you are somebody who has fire element as your day master or anywhere else in your chart, that's a really great element to have because we haven't had fire element in the last couple of years. And so you could be very much in demand. Fire element is related to like hope and optimism and joy, and there's not been a lot of that. And so you could very well be in demand this year. And so it's very helpful to start with getting your own bots done, generate your own Chinese astrology chart, your 4 pillars of destiny, and then use that as a central point to see what is going to be coming. And so you'll get in your chart, you'll get a series of 4 heavenly stems that are the 5 elements, whether they're yin or yang, because you'll have a year, a month, a day. And if you provide the time of your birth, the hour, and then you'll also have animal signs so that you can understand from the Chinese zodiac perspective how your animal sign will do this year.
And is there anything specific, more general, that we can learn from Feng Shui this year?
Yeah, 2 things. So there's maybe 3 things. I've got lots to say about that, actually. So one is that there's tons of patterns in Feng Shui. And one of the really interesting things that you can do is you can actually look back 60 years to see what kind of clues we'll get about this particular year that we're going into, because the energy runs on a 60-year cycle. So if you want to know what things might happen, take a look at 1962. The other thing that's really interesting about this year is that each of the months of the year of the tiger, obviously there are 12 of them, show a forecasting of what is going to happen in the next 12 years. So here's why. The month of February in 22 has the same energy as the year of 22. In March of 22, it has the same energy as the year of 23. In April of 22, it has the same energy as 24. So we're really starting to get a little preview, if you will, each month this year about what kind of energy might feel like in the coming years. It's fascinating because I've not actually seen anything like that before in all the years I've been doing this. And we won't see anything like this again for something like another 180 years. I did a calculation a while ago. It's a crazy amount of time. So really what I'm encouraging people to do with this is to really pay attention each month to the amazing things that are happening and the more challenging things that are happening. And that way, as you go through the corresponding 12 years, you can be really proactive at manifesting the things that you want. If you have a month that's really amazing, then I really encourage you to go, okay, awesome. April was really great for me. So that means in 24, it could mean that I'm going to have a really great year. So I'm going to prepare for that by planning to make any changes or develop any projects or grow my business or get into a relationship, whatever it is that you're looking for, that your goals are. You can start planning for that and manifesting the things that you want. If you have a month that is particularly challenging, like maybe August is not your month this year. And so you can look at the corresponding year and go, all right, when this year comes up, I might have to take a little extra caution, pay attention to my health, maybe avoid traveling, maybe not get into a business partnership, whatever it is that might come up for you in your chart, what that means for you, so that you can be prepared. And I really like the idea of tracking this. So one of the things I've done is I've made an essential guide for the Year of the Tiger, which is complimentary. So you can grab that on my website. We'll include the links in the show notes. And so there's a manifestation mastery section in the essential guide toward the back where you can record all the things that happened through this particular year. And so that you can look back on it in the corresponding years. That's one really interesting, well, that might be two. That's one of the really interesting things that's happening this year. I forgot your question. Ask me your question again. I lost my train of thought.
Is
Sorry.
there anything particularly bad that's happening in Feng Shui this year?
Oh, Feng Shui. That was your question, right? So let's go to something else that's really interesting for this year about Feng Shui. The other thing that's really interesting this year about Feng Shui is that one of the systems that we like to use for Feng Shui to make forecasting predictions, because it's very popular, is something called flying stars. And I'll definitely take a second to explain what flying stars are. Something that you're not really going to hear on social media or on the internet is that the way to understand how to use this information well is to use your GWA, or your life star number, which you'll find in your Bazi calculator. So when you go calculate your chart, it'll give you a life star or it's called a GWA number. And it has a corresponding relationship in the 5 elements. And the simplest thing to do, and this is in the essential guide, is to look to see what element your GWA number is, what's the corresponding element that goes with the number, and then using the productive cycle of the 5 elements, figure out what produces your element of your GWA, or what element you produce. The reason is because when you get element energy from what produces you, it's nourishing. It's like the right kind of parent being there to give you support and love and nourishment and food and education and strength and resources. And the reason that you also want to know what your output is, which is what the element you produce, because when you produce something, you can make money. You can display your work, you can show off, it helps you make money. So that's one aspect of it. Now, so what are these flying stars? Every year, feng shui of your space is affected by annual energetic influences. So flying stars is a system of calculating how energy moves and behaves because it works really quickly compared to other methods. It's a very popular system to talk about each year. And it's very influential because, as the name implies, these are annual flying stars. They exert their influence for only 1 year. So they're powerful for a very short period of time. These stars are unseen energy that behave in very distinct ways based on the environment that they're in. So the reason that we want to talk about this is because you want to know how the nature of the star is going to behave and what to expect when it visits each section of your home and your own life gua. So these stars are generally broken down into good stars or bad stars, although no star is truly forever good or bad. It just gives us an idea generally of what to expect. And the name flying stars means they're not stagnant. So they keep changing their position. So this particular year, what's interesting is the position of the stars is the same as one of the tools that we use in Feng Shui called the Lo Shu. The Lo Shu is the map that tells us the home position of the stars. And so essentially this year, all the stars are going home, which is great because it means the stars are pretty comfortable. It's like hanging out with good friends. They're like usually giving off good behavior in general. Now, we want to know what the influence of the star is or how it behaves. So there are common names given to each of these stars, and they're identified by a number. So there's 9 stars. So star 1 is a noble people. Star 2 is a sickness star. Star 3 is an argument star. Star 4 is romance, travel, education. Star 5 is a misfortune star. Star 6 is career authority. Star 7 is sometimes called a robbery star. Star 8 is current wealth, and star 9 is future wealth. So that's also in the essential guide. And so the idea is that you would go, okay, for example, my life star or my life gua number is 3, and that is attached to the wood element. So the star that I would want to use for nourishment would be star 1. And then you would look at the guide, and on the guide, you would see that star 1 is in the north, which is great because that means all you need to go do is go into the north area of your home and use that area of your house, and you will get the benefit of the energy of the star. And this is how you align yourself with good energy. And you can do this with any gua. So if your gua, for example, is 8, that's an earth element gua. If you want some nourishment and you want some support, then you would go to star 9 because fire produces earth element, and you would go to the south and you would use that area of your house and you would just get the energy of that star. That's how you use the energy of the star with your gua. So it's really interesting that it's going to its home palace, because the only negative, bad star, if you will, in general is star 2. Star 2 is known as a sickness star. We don't really want people to get sick. It's not always forever good or bad, and there are some guas that can use star 2, and that's also listed in the essential guide. But the misfortune star, which is star 5, which is like the hot topic of every year, is in the center this year, and so it's in its home palace, and so it's not as detrimental, which is really lovely. There are still monthly stars, and that is also explained in the essential guide because the stars move every year, month, day, and hour. So the monthly stars also have a pretty significant impact. And so if you're concerned, if you're dealing with a health issue, if you're dealing with a big calamity, a big issue in your home or in your life, then you may want to take a look at the monthly star chart and avoid the 5 and the 2 stars. That's a little bit more advanced. So if the easiest thing that you can do is go use a good star, go use a star that nourishes you, and then that will be really helpful all over. So that's good stuff. That's the really interesting stuff. And then the stuff that's negative for the year that you had asked about, there are 3 things that we talk about. They're called annual afflictions, and they are the Grand Duke, which is the Emperor star for the year, and it's in the Northeast. It's actually Northeast 3, which is a very small section of Northeast in Feng Shui. This is the most important star of the year. It's called the Tai Sui. It's also the animal sign of the tiger. So if you have the animal sign of the tiger in your chart, then you have the most important star of the. You don't want to disturb this area. You don't want to upset the emperor, right? So you don't want to look at the emperor. You want to leave the emperor alone. You don't want to disturb him. No renovation in that area of your house. No repairs, no remodeling. You don't want to do any of that. You don't want to, and you don't really want to look at the emperor. So you don't want to face northeast direction specifically in your home. The opposite of that is what's called the year breaker. So it's called the crash or the clash position, which is the animal sign of the monkey, which is Southwest 3. So also no remodeling, no repairs, no destruction. You don't want to break the ground or disturb the ground in that area because you don't want to upset the year breaker. And the third annual affliction is called the 3 killings. This is like having a poison arrow at your back. So you don't really want to sit with your back to the north. So it's located in the north this year. You don't want to sit with your back to the north, and you really don't want to do any disturbing of the ground, moving furniture, remodeling, anything like that, especially if your house sits north. You don't want to do even remodeling. I wouldn't even do it in the whole house just because it's sitting back there the whole year. You just want to avoid it. Like my own house sits north, and I was like, honey, nothing's happening this year. We got to get it all done before the year begins, because you don't want to have to do anything voluntarily. If something is broken, then of course you want to fix it. I mean, then you call for help to get a good date selection for renovation. But if you can avoid it, then you want to avoid it.
I forgot, when you say your house sits north, is it when you're facing your front door, straight ahead is north, or how does that work?
That's behind you, right? So the facing is what your house looks at, right? So it's the front of your house is what it faces, and what it sits is behind. That's a good question.
So like as far as you and the door. So if you are in front of your door looking at your door, is that how your house is facing?
Looking out to the road.
Oh,
looking out to the road. So you're facing out away from the house. Yeah. If
Oh,
you think
okay.
about a house, like a house has windows and it has a door, which is what's called the mouth of chi. And so it looks out to the world. That's its facing direction.
So, what happens if you were born on a tiger year? Would this be your year, or is that bad, or does it matter?
That's a great question. There are a lot of people who go, oh, it's a tiger year. It must be my year. And so the way to know that if you have a tiger in your chart is to get your Chinese astrology chart, which is you can get it on the calculator. The year of the tiger is known by years. I have to do the little calculation here. 1938, 1950, 62, 74, 86, 98, 2010, and this year is 22 are people who are born in the year of the tiger. And they tend to be people who are like natural leaders and very ambitious and have a strong sense of justice, usually very giving people, usually very protective people. And these kind of characteristics also have polarity. So when someone's at their best, they're going to have strong leadership abilities. They're going to be very caring and loving. They're going to be charismatic. They're going to really enjoy a challenge. But when they're not at their best, and their sort of negative aspects of this would be that someone could be impulsive, could be excessive, could be prone to emotional outbursts, may not back down easily, could be somebody that like dies on their sword for their principles. There are some famous tiger people that we might see in the news this year. Queen Elizabeth, whose health is failing. Leonardo DiCaprio, Whoopi Goldberg, like Robert Pattinson he's got a tiger and he's born in the year of the tiger, and his movie's coming out this year. Jim Carrey, the list goes on, that you'll see people in the news who have tiger in their chart. Social media, you might see more tigers. You just might. I've seen so many memes on social media of tigers in the last couple of days. It's kind of interesting. I always say that the year animal, you see more of that on social media. And people born in 1962 are seeing the same energy as the year they were born. So unless they live to be 120, they're never going to see this energy again. So people go, oh, I was born in the year of the tiger, then it must be my year. And maybe not. It actually might be more challenging for you. That's a little bit of a myth that people go, it's my year. And so it is important to look at the whole chart to see if it's going to be beneficial to you or not. It's more like a mirroring effect. When your animal it's the animal year, it's the same as your animal year. Usually it shows you the state of your life, and it gives you a chance to reflect, to go, where am I at? Where do I want to go? How do I want to make things better? What can I do or evolve to change so that my life can be better? It's usually more of a mirroring effect. Now, if somebody has a tiger in their chart, I don't want them to freak out, because you can still have a really great year. You've got 4 animal branches and a 10-year luck pillar in your chart that you can use to identify other resources in your chart. So if you know somebody who's born in the year of the tiger, or if you have a tiger in your chart, take heart. It's okay. There are some animal signs that are really, really great this year. One of them is the pig. The pig is the secret friend of the tiger this year, actually. And so if you have a tiger in your chart, the thing to do is make friends with somebody who's born in a pig year or born in a pig month, which is usually November, because that person's going to have really good energy this year, and you can make friends with them. They're good people to make friends with. The animal sign that is the opposite of the tiger that I mentioned earlier is the monkey. So this is the clash animal for the year. And if you have a monkey in your chart, I generally recommend that you just be really careful with your emotions and with traveling this year. And I definitely don't recommend that these people do anything dangerous, like things that I would consider dangerous, like any kind of sport that involves signing your life away, like jumping out of an airplane or riding a fast motorcycle or skydiving or base jumping, or I don't know, anything that I would consider dancing on rickety tables, that kind of stuff. You don't want to do that kind of stuff. I mean, you want to make smart choices where you're keeping your feet on the ground and not doing too many things that are risky, and also not traveling in the direction of the Grand Duke, which is the northeast. So if you can avoid traveling directly to the northeast, then that can be also beneficial, so that you're avoiding triggering a clash.
That's interesting. So I am available for friendships for all the tigers. I am a November baby.
All right. See, you're going to be popular this year. People are going to want your energy.
I know that the charts are very complicated and you have like more than one animal, but if you
Yeah.
could say general, because everybody knows they're one animal.
Yeah.
And I know they're all thinking, what about my animal? Is there anything you can say about me? Because that's how people are. They want to know about them.
Yeah.
Can you go over all the animals and just give like the very basic things that they should maybe expect or look out for?
Yeah, well, a couple things. So one is that we have something called the 4 annual noble stars. The annual noble stars is like the good stuff. So I mentioned the negative annual afflictions, and there are 4 stars that are really beneficial. They are known as the fortune virtue, dragon virtue, sun, and moon stars. And they reside on a feng shui perspective in the same animal sign direction. So if somebody has a pig in their chart, a rooster in their chart, a rabbit, or a snake, they're automatically going to get the benefit of these annual noble stars. And we like these stars quite a lot because they bring help, they bring solutions to problems, they make things go easier, they remove obstacles, they turn negatives into positives, helps with communication. Every star has sort of its own little function. But if you have the pig, the rooster, the rabbit, or the snake, you're automatically getting these stars in your chart. Where they reside in your chart, whether it's a year, month, day, or hour, will indicate which part of your life will impact the most. So for example, the month section of your chart typically represents someone's business or career. So if you have, in your case, you kind of said, I was born in the month of the pig, that means that you are automatically getting this fortune virtue star in your career aspect. So it could be that when you commit to doing something, it'll turn out really, really positive. It can bring you help with happy events, removing obstacles, helpful people supporting you. So it's good to develop projects, things that you want to do, maybe that you want to expand your business. This would be the kind of year that you'd want to do that because you automatically have the star in your chart. So those 4 right off the bat are some that I really like. The other couple stars that I think are helpful, one is the horse. The horse is, in my opinion, also one of the really good animal signs for the year because it has some of the extra stars that's more advanced that are coming to visit this year, which are very helpful. Then if those were the top tier ones, and I would say like the middle tier, we already know the monkey has the clash. So it's sort of a middle tier. Like there's good stars this year actually for the monkey, but it can be a little bit of a tumultuous year. I also like the stars for the dog, the dragon, and the goat. The goat last year was, the poor goat, was in a bullying punishment. Also the dog, the goat, and the ox were in a formation in 21 called a bullying punishment. So they're finally going to get some relief this year, which is why we're like elevating them to a middle tier. And then some of the sort of bottom, quote unquote, if you will, tier animals, the ox, because it was the tai sui last year, the tiger, which we know is the tai sui this year. So it's actually not a top animal. And then the rat. So if you have those animal signs in your chart, it's okay. I would recommend that you focus on the animal signs that have good stuff and figure out in your chart what those animal signs are and use good energy spots in your home to help bring balance.
When you do an individualized chart with someone, they have several animals. So is it based on the year, the month? Like, how does that work?
Right. So when we calculate a chart, the first thing that we're doing is using someone's birth date and the gender assigned at birth to generate a Chinese astrology chart. That will tell us the elements and the animal signs from the zodiac, where they're positioned. And it tells us just a ton of information about your personality, the kinds of choices that you'd make, your relationships with people, the kind of work that you're doing. And we can use that as a bit of a forecast.
Oh.
So when you generate a Chinese astrology chart, we use your birthday and the gender assigned at your time of birth to map out essentially your life in showing us the elements and the animal signs from the year, the month, the day, and the time that you were born. And when we do a professional chart, we also recalculate that to adjust for solar time and based on the location that you're born. So it's a very specific analysis. It also generates what are called luck pillars. And all of this information is used to help us understand you as a person, what your true talents and gifts are, what some of the choices that you would most likely make in life, when important things might be happening, like when you might get married, when you might have a job change, when you might come into a business opportunity, when you might make a significant move in your life, when things with health might be more challenging for you. So the reason that we look at this each year is so that we kind of know what to expect and we can plan accordingly and be prepared for the good stuff and the bad stuff. Meaning, if you are somebody that has an animal sign with a really good star this year, like a pig or a horse or a rooster or a rabbit, like then go be proactive in the things that are important to you, what your goals are, and go after them. The thing about Feng Shui and Chinese astrology that I think is most interesting is it really favors action. These things, you could say that this is fated, right? Your chart is fated. Your chart is what it is. You can't go back in your mother's womb and be born again. Like that can't happen. You can't change that. But what you can do is know what energy is coming and what's not coming so that you can make an informed decision. And then you can really sculpt your destiny based on that.
I want to switch things up and talk about the Chinese New Year.
Okay.
What are some ways that we can get ready for the new year?
Well, there's like a huge mass migration all over the world, people going to Asia to celebrate with their families because it's a big deal. And as I mentioned earlier, the Chinese New Year on the solar calendar, the energy is fully set on February 4th, although the Lunar New Year is February 1st. So there's a couple days difference depending on which calendar you're using. To prepare, one of the things I really encourage people to do is to clean. And when I say clean, I mean two things. One, I clutter, but I also mean you just like pull out your stove and your couch and get like the dust bunnies underneath and the gross stuff that has been collecting there all year. Like get that all cleaned up. Wipe out your baseboards, wipe off your fans and your registers. And yeah, I live in Arizona and it's very dusty here. So I'm constantly doing that, but it's important to get rid of some of the dust and the grime and the negative accumulated stagnant energy from the previous year. So you have fresh energy and everything is clean and you can feel really good about that. The next thing to do is to deal with your clutter, right? So typically in the United States, we have a lot of stuff. We have so much stuff and comparatively our homes are bigger than the rest of the world. So we have room for a lot of stuff. But in Chinese metaphysics, we also say that you really do need to have an empty cup in order for something to come in. Your cup needs to be empty in order for it to be filled. So I encourage people to go through your clothes, see what clothes you haven't been wearing for the last 2 years because you haven't been going anywhere due to being isolated. You're probably not going to need them. You might not fit into them anymore. When you decide to get back out there, you're going to want something new and fashionable. Like you're not going to want to wear your clothes from 2 years ago. So there may be something that you want to give away. Toys that your kids don't play with anymore. Just things that maybe you bought on impulse while you were in isolation that you thought was going to make you feel good and you don't need it anymore. Also be mindful of things that are broken. So now's a good time to repair anything that's leaky, especially leaks. We definitely don't like leaks in Feng Shui. Broken windows, make sure your appliances are in working order so that you don't have to worry about that throughout the year. Those are the two things I encourage people to do. The third is a little bit more specific to the individual. If you are looking at your chart, maybe you have a tiger or a monkey in your chart and you're a little bit concerned about how things are going to go this year, or you're already foreseeing a challenge, you're foreseeing a health issue, or you think that things are unstable in your business, your career, maybe there's going to be a layoff, or you are getting a new boss, you're not really sure what's going to happen, or you're concerned about traveling. If you can, it's helpful to give blood, because when you donate blood, you're literally, or even plasma, right? You're literally donating your chi, you're giving your chi away. And it helps with the karmic balance. And if you can't do that, I don't weigh enough. I can't give blood. My husband can't give blood. So you'll think about making a donation or donating your time in volunteering if you can. Those are the couple things I encourage people to do to prep for Chinese New Year. And if you're listening to this after, it's okay. You can still clean your house. That's all right. On February 4th, which is the day that we use in the solar calendar to welcome the energy in, it's very helpful, if you can, to open up your windows and doors, to just let the fresh energy in and let it reside, really let it in and reside in your house. Even if you live in a cold environment, even if you can just do it for a few minutes, it can make a big difference. Opening your front door, welcoming the energy in is really beautiful practice.
So I'm half Persian, and I know that spring cleaning is huge in Persian culture. It's kind of just like what you said. You're supposed to finish cleaning by the first day of spring, which is the Persian New Year. And that consists of taking literally everything out of your home and then carefully cleaning it before you decide if you actually want to bring it back inside.
I love that. Let's do
Yeah.
more. That's a great idea. We could do a whole show on that.
Yeah. And I know like over there, they put sheets all over their front lawn, take everything out, put it on there. They wash the rugs. They do a very deep cleaning that we do not do here, which is gross when you think about it. And then they wear brand new clothes, and they even have a symbolic little altar that they make with these little items that represent luck and prosperity in different areas of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking, why do so many cultures seem to do this? What do you think?
There's a whole Taoist practice around this. So there's a lot of that happens culturally. The things I'm talking about is more about Feng Shui. There's a whole Taoist practice about going to the altar and paying respect to your ancestors and making offerings and cleaning, bringing in the right objects to your home. I think that the reason is because due to technology, we've become really disconnected from nature. And in history, we've been very much tied to the cycle of nature, and the benefit of the energy of springtime brings hope after the winter, after things have been cold, maybe after your food stores you're sort of dying down, if you will, you're running out of food. And the hope that comes with springtime means that you can eat, you can hunt, you have more daylight, especially if you're in the northern hemisphere, whichever hemisphere you're in, right? You have more daylight, you have the opportunity to tap into a season where things are blooming and regenerating and rebirthing. And it brings a great deal of optimism. So I think that the reason that these practices continue to be meaningful is because, especially now, we're so disconnected from nature. We're so into technology that we really need to rely on these cycles to remind us that we're still human. We're still human, having a human experience on a planet, on Earth, even though we're on our computers all the time, we're on our devices all the time, 4G, 5G, we're connected in a completely different way. But if you can take time to disconnect from technology and reconnect to Mother Nature, can be extremely nourishing.
According to Feng Shui and the Year of the Tiger coming up, so are there any colors or objects or elements that we should be adding into our home, or is that just nonsense and individualized?
It's not really part of my practice per se. There are cultural things from a Taoist practice that you can do. I don't subscribe to the idea that you should put a money tree in the money corner, or that you need to have an object or a trinket to fix something. My perspective is that it's much more powerful to understand your own energy and then align with supportive energy in your home that can help you. Now, if you feel like there is an element that is missing or is out of balance in your chart or in your life that you feel like you can benefit from, you could certainly try to be more active with that element. So, for example, if you are somebody whose chart does not have a lot of water or benefits from water, I usually am encouraging that person to take a bath on a regular basis or go swimming, because they're actually in the element of water. If somebody really benefits from wood element, then they might not like the beach. They might really like to go to the forest and go for a hike and go be with the trees and be with Mother Nature in that respect. So if you are somebody who needs fire element in your chart, you could go sit in front of a bonfire. But if you want another way that you could do that, you could wear red underwear or red socks. Like, you could give that a try, bringing in that color, that representation into your environment or into your wardrobe can potentially be helpful. And also doing things in the element industry can also be helpful. So, like, for example, a few years ago, I worked with somebody who was feeling very disconnected from her spirituality, and spirituality is often represented by fire element. Although we have the spiritual pillar coming this year, spirituality is represented by fire element because it brings hope and optimism and inspiration. And so she had been disconnected from a religious practice, and I was like, just go back to your religious practice if you feel comfortable with that, or consider a different spiritual path so that you feel connected to that energy. And it was extremely nourishing to her, and she hadn't really considered that. So you can be doing things in particular areas that are helpful for you. Like, I have a client who needs a good amount of earth element in his chart. And so he's into real estate. And so it balances his chart and he can make money with that. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can connect with the elements. I'm just not a fan of trinkets and tchotchkes. And I feel like that's it's a misrepresentation of the element representation. And I worry that people get taken advantage of because they feel like, oh, I've got to have this object in my house and it means I'm going to have good luck. And I don't subscribe to that personally.
Are there any maybe practices like New Year's resolution in Feng Shui?
Yes. So when you know what is happening with your chart, then you can plan accordingly. Then you can set intentions for the things that you want throughout the year. I often say that January is not the time to make a resolution because you're still riding on the energy of the previous year, because the energy changes on February 4th. So of course your resolution that you make on the Gregorian calendar on January 1st is going to fall apart in 3 weeks because you're still running on the energy that you were running on the previous 11 months. So it's very helpful to know what the energy is that's coming in. That way you can plan for how to use it and make a resolution accordingly. Maybe one of the things that you're getting this year is noblemen. Noblemen are like helpful people. And so there's two ways that noblemen can work for you. One is that you get help. You get help from people. People are around, you ask for help, they connect you, you meet people, someone's there to solve your problem, especially when there's a dire situation. The other side of that is that you might become someone's nobleman. So if you've been wanting to take on mentoring role, then this might be really the year to do that so that you can be someone's support system, be someone's mentor, be someone's helpful person. And then you get a reciprocal, it's the law of equal and opposite forces. Everything comes and goes. So if you give help, then you also get help. That, yes, I think that making goals and understanding what you want to manifest is very helpful when you understand the energy of the year. Now's a good time to do that.
So, going back to clutter and cleaning out before the new year, people tend to buy a lot of stuff now when they're bored or they think it's cute or they just need that dopamine hit, and then they're swallowed in their space with clutter. What does feng shui say about clutter, and what part does it play in our lives?
Well, it takes up space. And from a feng shui perspective, chi needs to move. Chi is energy, unseen energy that's within a space. Energy is the simplest way to explain chi. And chi needs to freely move and flow in order for you to be able to access it. So if you're sitting in a space where there's tons of books, clothes, toys, things that are unused, collectibles, things that you're not really using and you're not enjoying, or gifts from family members that make you feel guilty that you have to keep, because what if Aunt Margaret comes and does not see the tchotchke that she gave you on your mantle when she comes to visit you, then you're going to feel guilty. This is all representing ways that she cannot flow freely. And that is totally not what we want. We want the chi to flow freely in your home. So that is a problem with clutter and having excess stuff, is the chi can't flow. I've been to homes where there's like stuff on the stairs and there's stuff on the hallway. And even though our spaces are disproportionately large, for some strange reason, we don't actually have a lot of storage. And that's okay, because you don't then want to buy a storage space down the street to put your stuff where you don't have a relationship with it. And then you're paying. That doesn't even make sense to me. That's a large industry here in the United States, is storage. So getting rid of and removing this excess material things opens up the path for chi to flow more freely, helps you feel lighter, helps you feel more focused, less distracted. I can't tell you how many times I've walked past something in my own home that I've left, pile of something, receipts, or something that needs to be dealt with, files. Every time I walk past it, I'm like, oh man, I gotta address this thing, and I feel guilty, and I haven't been giving time to it. As soon as that gets put away or it gets dealt with, automatically feel freer. You can focus on things that are the most important to you and allow better energy in. So that is one aspect of it. And the other aspect is that from an emotional perspective or from a psychological perspective, we think we need stuff. We think that we need material things in order to be satisfied or fulfilled. And that sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's one big thing that really makes me happy. And typically the satisfaction that we get from stuff is short-lived. And so we think that we need to hold on to it in order to use it in the future. There's a sort of psychology of lack. That is to say, if I don't keep this thing, then when I need it and it's not going to be here, and then I'm going to be without it, and then I'm going to be in a situation where I'm not going to have what I need. And that's also a problem, because we want to be in a mindset of prosperity and abundance, that everything that we need will come to us, that we can manifest the things that we want, and don't need to be in a mindset of scarcity, feeling like we can't eliminate something unused from our lives.
I get that a lot from people, because I try to help my friends out when they have a lot of clutter, because I know that it makes me feel so much better and accomplish so much more when there's literally almost nothing on spaces. I have 3 things rule. There can be only 3 things on a table.
Yeah.
Before I go crazy.
I like it.
But
that's great. Yeah, that's great. Having done this for 12 years, I've been to a lot of people's houses and different perspectives on stuff. And I found myself wanting less and less. I've given away books. I've given away clothes. I have a pile of stuff that I'm going to be giving away for Chinese New Year in my own home that I don't need anymore, that somebody else can use. And it feels good to let somebody else be blessed with that thing that I'm not using anymore.
Let's go into a little of the freebies. You said you had 2, right?
One is you can get a free Chinese astrology chart by going to the Batsa calculator on my site. So if you want to know what your animal signs are for your year, your month, your day, and if you have your time of birth, you can input that information. So that's all free on my site. And so essentially the site is fsinmotion.com. Under the services section, there's a link for a Bazi calculator. That's certainly free. It's very basic. There's not any analysis that goes with it, but if you want to see your zodiac signs, they're there. If you want to know your life gua number, it's there for you. And it also gives you your lucky directions. So the way to use that in Feng Shui is to know what your lucky directions are and position yourself in that direction. So you're looking at that direction when you're working or doing something really and having an important conversation, for example. And then the other is the essential guide for the year of the tiger. So if you found any of this interesting, or you want to dig a little bit deeper into it and you want to see what the year chart looks like, you want to check out the flying star positions and know what the sectors are for each of the flying stars for the year, it's all in the essential guide, along with the manifestation mastery section that I talked about earlier too.
And how can everyone work with you if they maybe want a little bit more in depth?
Oh, I love that. I can be reached for Feng Shui services. I do consultations for Feng Shui. I do Chinese astrology readings, which are more in depth. I also offer personal date selection. I make calendars for my clients. I help with renovation advising. If someone's looking to sell a house or buy a house, so real estate services, it's all under the umbrella of Feng Shui. My website is fsinmotion.com. I am also on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we go?
One of the more useful resources that I just mentioned is a personal calendar. So the personal calendar is super interesting because if you're somebody who thinks that this is fascinating and you're interested in being ambitious and planning the right timing for the kinds of things that are important in your life, then a personal calendar might be for you. It's especially helpful if you want to work smarter and not harder. If you want to be in the right place at the right time. I mean, one of the things that Chinese metaphysics talks about is luck, and that luck is preparation meeting opportunity. And if you're in the right place at the right time, then you can grab that opportunity. So this is helpful with timing. If you want to avoid negative energy or potential conflicts, sometimes just avoiding bad energy makes a huge difference. You're avoiding the negative stuff in your feng shui, and then you're also avoiding the negative timing that helps you with avoiding roadblocks. And maybe you're just somebody who has intuition, but you start to second guess yourself. You wonder if I should do this right now. Not really sure if I should have this conversation with my boss. Not really sure if I should take a trip at this time. And the calendar is great because it will also tell you when not to do things. Again, avoiding negative stuff is really helpful. So there's a whole section of the calendar that's do not use days. So those are days when the energy is really unstable. You want to avoid the really important things in life. And that is available. If somebody is listening to this and they want to contact me individually, I can offer that for $149, which is a discount from $160, which is the normal price. It's almost like getting a month free. And that pricing is valid through the end of February of 22.
Awesome. So again, Jillian, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It was great talking with you. Happy New Year.